And there we go. We're live for our third in the series of Newcomers to Lisa as part of the Lisa Conversation series. I'd like to welcome Derek Arnold, who's joining Tom and myself. I always feel so officious when I say myself. Tom and me. Hi, Derek. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lee. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Derek. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
So this was Derek's first Lisa, the one that we just finished, and I asked him to join us and give us some of his insight about the conference, what newcomers to the conference should expect, that kind of thing. Any opening thoughts, Derek?
It was just a thrill to be around so many other sysadmins. Like other sysadmins, I'm sure when you try to explain what you do to people, it's like, wait, what do you do? And people's eyes glaze over, and that's never fun. But to be around people who understand what you do, and a lot of people who are there that know more about what I do than I do, it was really enriching.
Well, did we meet your expectations when you came to the conference? Exceed them?
You surpassed them.
I always like to hear that.
Yeah. So Derek, tell us how did you hear of the conference?
Well, I got a mailing. I had recently joined LAPSA, and I'd seen some mentions of it, and I got a mailing for Lisa. And I read through it, and I was like, okay, I do this, this is pertinent, this is pertinent. So I put together a proposal and asked my higher-ups to approve it, and they did. So I went.
Oh, awesome. Cool. And so what kind of work do you do?
Well, my title is Senior Systems Engineer at Agile Networks in Canton, Ohio. What I really do is a combination of lots of Linux sysadmin, mostly CentOS, and some development on our internal CRM and our monitoring system.
Cool.
So what would you say was the most interesting thing you encountered at the conference?
It was, I thought that I would find the process things interesting, the things about process and building of culture and that interesting, but I really found myself interested in those. I didn't get to as many of the sessions as I wanted, but the ones I did hit were very interesting.
Did you avail yourself of the hallway track?
A little bit, not as much as I wanted.
For people watching that aren't familiar with the term, the hallway track is what we kind of jokingly call just people hanging out and talking in the hallways, which is a big part of the conference because it is very much a community, and we always try to make sure that new people feel welcome and that they can just walk up to any random person and strike up a conversation. Earlier, before we started taping, you mentioned that you enjoyed the closing keynote. Do you want to tell us your reaction to that?
Yeah, I knew that Dr. Mickens mixed his presentations with humor, but I was not ready for what happened. It was very informative, but is also extremely funny, showing that you can get into technology without it being kind of dry, because sometimes what we talk about is not the most exciting subject matter. It was a perfect end to the conference.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Cool. What other sessions stood out in your mind?
The Meat for Structure talk by Alice Goldfuss from New Relic, that one stood out because it made me think about how I could interact better with my team and the rest of the business. And it gave me ideas for things that not only I could do with our team, but for other parts of the business that could kind of grease the wheels for the rest of the company, because that's kind of what we should be doing. I mean, as far as sysadmins, in my humble opinion.
Sure. I agree. I enjoyed that talk. I thought it was interesting. The subject was, how do you go from, how do you grow your sysadmin team? And it wasn't just like, well, or actually it was more like, what do you have to do when you grow your sysadmin team? Because it grows, and then all of a sudden we realize, oh, we have to act differently. And I think she had the greatest phrase. It was, you have to go from having an oral tradition to a written tradition. And I'm going through that myself where I work, because we've grown recently, and we used to be, all experts in our thing, and now we have to communicate to the whole team to make everyone experts in, or be able to cover each other. Yeah.
So hopefully people will get a chance to view the recording, or at least listen to the recording of that talk. They're starting to post recordings now. In fact, the closing keynote has been published by Usenix. If anybody is curious to hear what he had to say about T, it's online and available now.
Oh yeah, good point.
And one of the nice things about Usenix is it is open access. So pretty much anything that happens at the conference will eventually show up, except tutorials, which are kind of a separate track. The training sessions are a separate track and don't generally get published. So Derek, what did you not feel you were prepared for? What would you do differently next time? When I'm hoping you'll join us again next year. What will you do differently when you join us?
On a personal note, I'd probably tack on a day before or after to kind of relax a little bit, either decompress from the conference or to ramp up to the conference. As far as conference preparation, just having a little more, just choosing a couple tracks, because I went to things that I felt could help us here, and that I had an interest in personally. But just being a little more focused on the tracks I chose, and also doing a little more of the hallway track. And for Lisa specifically, I found Lisa build to be very interesting. So that may be something I'd like to participate in next year.
You want to talk a little bit more about Lisa Build?
Lisa Build, from what I understand, is a bunch of volunteers that built the infrastructure and the computer lab for Lisa that exists during the conference, and the wireless that powers the conference a few days before the conference begins, and they keep it going through the duration of the conference.
Yeah, they had some really impressive displays up this time with a lot of the network visualization tools they were using. Quite fascinating and fun to watch. Broadcast storms really look like storms.
Yeah, they had a lot of really good monitoring dashboards and stuff up on big screens so everyone can see. And they were this year, I believe last year also, they built out the whole wireless network in time for the conference, and the uptime was excellent. I was on it instead of the official conference network the whole week.
Yeah, this year the conference used the Marriott network as well as the Lisa Build network. Next year we will, as I understand it, just be using the Lisa Build network once it goes live.
Cool.
So no pressure there. 1,000 people all trying to use the same network at once.
And it worked very well. It's like I had no real issues using the network.
And I hung out with the build in the build room for a little while, and I was really excited to see it was all sorts of levels of skill set. There was from the most junior people to more senior people, and everyone was working together and learning from each other. It was really a unique kind of opportunity. I don't think a lot of I don't think many conferences do it that way. And I should mention that you can follow them on Twitter at at Lisa Build, all one word. If you're interested in hanging out with those folks.
The volunteers for Lisa Build are a pretty impressive group. It's definitely something, if you're interested in that, you should look into that early. I have a feeling as people find out more and more about it, it's going to become very popular. And I don't know how many volunteers they'll be able to actually take. So follow the Twitter, or find out early if you're interested in doing that.
Yeah.
We're just about out of time. I wanted to ask if you had any last thoughts, Derek, before we go into our famous 3 questions.
Okay. I did want to give an extra answer to one of the earlier questions. One thing that I would change about my experience is I want to be more. I want to jump into things more. Sometimes I have a tendency to step back and kind of observe the situation before I jump in. So now that I've gone to Lisa and see kind of how it goes, I think I'd be more apt to jump in and get more actively involved.
Cool. That's great.
That's excellent.
And I also like the point you made earlier about studying the schedule ahead of time. It is a very large conference and people aren't used to it, so doing a little bit of homework ahead of time can really help you chart out what you're going to see. And I know if I don't do that, I end up, it's time for the next session, and I'm scrambling to read the descriptions to figure out what's next.
Yeah, and we're probably going to use Guidebook again. I'm assuming. I don't actually know that for a fact, but I'm assuming we'll use Guidebook again. So you can download the initial conference schedule before you even get to the conference site and start planning out your event that way. The call for proposals for next year should be coming out. I actually don't know. I should
very
check.
soon. I'm sure by.
I'm sure they're. I know they're working on it.
January.
They've been working on it, so I know it'll be out fairly soon. That said, we're pretty much out of time. Tom, you want to go ahead and start the?
Sure. So we always end our show by asking our guests 3 rapid-fire questions, and the first one is what was your the first computer that you owned or used?
The first one I owned was a Commodore 64.
Yes, me too.
Every time people say these things, it makes me feel older and older.
8 bits, baby. And the next question, have you ever had the opportunity to press the big red switch or button in a data center that powers everything off?
No. That would be cool, though.
I think you're our first guest that said that would be cool. Everyone else is like, oh, it's scary. Awesome. I love that. And the last question is, what is your favorite, who is your favorite computer scientist or author?
All right, that's a hard one.
Or science fiction author.
Too many to pick from.
I'll say Lloyd Alexander.
Lloyd Alexander, awesome. Good choice. Good choice. Cool.
Well, thank you, Derek. We really appreciate you joining us this for you evening, for me afternoon. I love time zones, really I do. I hope you will join us again at the next Lisa conference and come up and say hi. Make sure that you check in and let me know how you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you all of our viewing audience, and again, thanks to Julie for producing the show for us. And just as a reminder, tomorrow Tom and I will be doing our regular Lisa conversation. We have some special guests lined up, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Awesome. Great. See you next time, everybody.